Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm Michael.
And I'm Ashley.
We started this channel because we want to talk about homesteading, preparedness, survival, frugality, self-sufficiency, and to document our transition from our current conventional lifestyle to a more homesteading kind of lifestyle. The way we got where we're at right now is that homesteading has always, well, not always, but for the last several years been kind of a dream of ours, and we want to get going that way. But in the summer of 2013, we were blessed with a little miracle. We found out we were pregnant, and so we decided to purchase a home. So now we live in a house in the largest subdivision in the county that we live in. And we wake up, and I think it would be accurate if I said we don't feel like we have everything we want. We don't feel like we're where we want to be in life.
Yeah, we can't provide the way we want to provide for ourselves and our family.
So, we own our home outright. We own both of our cars outright. We don't carry any student loan or credit card debt. So, even despite that, we don't quite feel like we are where we want to be. We feel like we want more out of life. And as my wife said, to be able to provide for ourselves. And one of the ways that we plan on doing that is to transition from our current conventional lifestyle to more of a homestead. Now, we started this channel because there are some things that we want to talk about along the way, including we want to share our experiences. We want to share our successes. We want you to laugh with us as we learn valuable lessons along the way. And if you have any input to add to us, any advice to give us, we greatly appreciate the help. So there are some things that we want to talk about. Gardening is one of them. My wife did some research while she was pregnant about the garden. We were going to build one this year, but
some life circumstances.
We had some circumstances that stood in our way. So,
and not the best weather.
Yeah, the weather was kind of crummy this last summer, not necessarily conducive for growing. So, another thing that we want to talk about, something that we've actually done a little bit of, is canning.
We did get to do this.
Yeah, we canned about 60 jars of tomatoes this past summer.
Next year we'll do about 600.
Yeah. She and I canned. Her mother came over and helped, and her grandmother came over to direct. Her grandmother's not necessarily able to can anymore, but she knows the entire process. And even our 8-month-old, who was 5 months old at the time, helped by taking care of making sure all the breaks got taken. So
we canned the entire sun up to entire sun down.
So it was about 3.5 bushels that we canned, and it was an absolute pleasure. We also make our own baby food, which we put into the little 4-ounce jelly jars, and we freeze those, which is wonderful. It's a great way to save money, and it's actually a lot of fun to be able to go ahead and make baby food. You want to show?
Yep, and then after the baby food is done, you can use those jars to continue canning, and there's a lot of good recipes in here for jams, jellies, smaller portions for salsas.
Hold it closer so people can see what it is.
But it's the Ball Home Preserving Canning Kit. This is the only book my grandmother will recommend, and if my grandmother, who is 92, doesn't recommend anything, there's a pretty good reason why. I'm starting to realize that, so we're going to stick with this book.
So we've got to gardening and canning already, and another thing that we want to talk about is log homes. In 2011, I was blessed to be able to go to a class that teaches how to build log homes. It's a 2-day-long class. It's a lot of fun. I met a great group of people there from all different walks of life. Everybody is interested in at least building their own home. Some are interested in self-sufficiency, homesteading, and stuff like that. The name of the organization is the Log Home Builders Association. Their website is loghomebuilders.org. This is the workbook that accompanies the class. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. The benefits are that you get to go for 2 days and talk about building log homes and hear people who have experience. And I think there's 7 generations of experience put into this. Talk about log home construction and some tips and techniques that have been learned along the way. Another great benefit is the forums. As a non-member, you have access to the non-member side of it, and that can be very helpful. But as a member, you gain special access to the members-only side of the forums, which is an absolute wealth of information. It's a wealth of knowledge and experience. Some of these people have only built one home and have decided to live in it for the rest of their lives. Others have gone forth and made businesses out of it, and others still just keep building and building and building because they love to build homes. Another thing that we want to talk about on this channel is money, sound money. So, you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, there's two common sound monies. When we say sound money, we're talking about precious metals, particularly in gold. This is a 1 ounce gold coin, or silver, and this is a 1 ounce silver coin. And then there's uncommon, and not mainstream precious metals sound money.
So the precious metals that she was just talking about, gold and silver, those are precious. This one is not, but copper. This one has a picture of Charles Schultz on it. This is a 1 ounce copper coin. Copper is easier to trade with than silver is, because if you have an ounce of silver, that actually buys a lot of stuff. Copper doesn't buy a lot of stuff, so a coin that doesn't buy a whole lot with copper is large enough that you're not going to use it. If you're going to take that same exact value in silver, for example, a penny's worth of silver is going to get lost very easily because it's going to be very tiny. So that's one of the reasons that we like to talk about copper as well as gold and silver. And the reason we like to talk about these things is because we've taken a look at economics and money, and one of the things that we understand is that all fiat, which is non-backed currencies, eventually go to zero value. Well, gold and silver has always been used as currency, or really money, and it's the safety net that catches economies that fail. One of the interesting things is that we're at a point in society and at a point in global history right now where every single currency in the entire world is fiat. It's backed by nothing. It's backed by nothing. Another thing that we're interested in talking about on this channel is true liberty, becoming truly free. And I'm talking more about freedom and independence from grocery stores, power companies, and even heavily intrusive government. Some historical documents, a particularly good one that's close and near and dear to my heart is the Constitution for the United States. It was written by some fascinating men who had a lot of fascinating things to say. And there are a lot of really good things in there that came out of history for that one. But I think too little attention is paid to it. So I'm probably going to be doing some videos on that. Another resource that we use to help us is Black's Law Dictionary. This is the deluxe 9th edition. It's not quite as in your face as the 4th and 5th editions are. So my wife and I do plan on going back and getting 4th or 5th edition Black's Law Dictionary so that we know what more old school attorneys and more old school judges are working with as far as their experience and their training.
And then along with this, what's really helpful is to have a dictionary, and not just your run-of-the-mill a dictionary you can buy nowadays. Make sure you get the 1834 Noah Webster's dictionary. When you get the older books, you want to back it by the older books. That way everything is consistent, and when you want to make an argument or a debate, or when you want to learn something true and the way it was intended to be, you need to stick with all from the same time period and what it was supposed to be represented for, not the watered down versions of what we read today.
The other interesting thing about the Noah Webster is that the Noah Webster of 1834 was the first English dictionary published in the United States of America. Now, the Declaration of Independence was written in 1776. After that was the Articles of Confederation and the Northwest Ordinance, which is probably the one good thing that came out of the Confederation government. And finally, the U.S. Constitution was written in 1787, and the first 10 amendments were attached to it in the Bill of Rights in 1791. So, a English dictionary from 1834 would have been as close as you can possibly get to the working definitions of the words as the founders were using them, since law dictionaries weren't really used back then. The main thing that law dictionaries defined was Latin or Greek terminology. Nowadays, they take what sounds like ordinary words and absolutely mutate them into something that they're just not intended to be. So, We also want to talk about resources. By that I mean informational and educational resources. This one is a really good one. I'm going to cover the name up on this. This is something I borrowed from a friend.
We will be getting our own copy, by the way.
This is 6 Ways In and 12 Ways Out, the Survival and Evasion Manual of the United States Rescue and Special Operations Group. My friend was nice enough to let me borrow this so that I can read it, take a look at it. There is a lot of information in here, everything you ever wanted to know, and a whole bunch of stuff you probably didn't want to know about surviving in the wild places. But it's a very good book, and I think that everybody who may eventually find themselves in a situation that can be kind of tight, which is anybody who's alive, should have a copy of that, should read it, should practice it, and should be at least relatively familiar with how to survive in their own particular area of the world. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to talk about. Is there?
Yeah, there's a few things actually. The few things that I'm going to be talking about more for me, I'm probably going to dabble in what you say as well. You're probably going to dabble in what I say.
A little bit.
I'm going to touch on homeschooling quite a bit. I'm going to go when I teach my daughter right now who's 8 months, but I'm not teaching her how, she's not going to go into public school. We live in the state of Michigan, and there's only 2 states, if I remember correctly, there's only 2 states that are totally free on how you can teach your child if you want to homeschool. Michigan's one of them, and I plan on doing it the way it should be. I'm going to teach her way back in how kids were taught in the 17 and 1800s. So I'm going to touch on how I do that, what my materials are. I'm probably going to change it quite a bit until I get a program with how I want it to be. And then with that, I'm also going to be talking about health, essential oils, soaps, what you want to put, not just what goes in your body, but what goes on your body as well, your shampoos, how to make them. That way, when you can totally break away from the system, you don't have to rely on grocery stores or pharmacies, starting with the P. You can start it with FARM, pharmacies. And be more just reliant on your family and instead of the government. Because, and we'll explain this in later videos.
Or corporations.
Or corporations. And that's, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? But for this video, we'll keep it basic. We're going to talk about anything and everything, how to break away from the system. We'll bring in the UCC when we're able to purchase it. We're going to talk about, we had the International Revenue Code from 2009.
Internal Revenue Code.
That's what I meant.
It's a bit dated, though.
It's a bit dated. But it's from 2009, but it's still got some relevant points, and we will be getting in 2015 and so forth. We're going to update it. And when we learn, we're going to bring it to you. We're also going to talk about property taxes and allodial titles, and this is going to be a wealth of information. We're going to make tons and tons and tons of videos. We may do it daily, we may do it weekly, we may do it monthly, but there's going to be tons of them. And we'll probably upload a whole bunch at a time if we're on something really big. But that's going to be the basis of our channel.
So, thank you for joining us as we continue along this journey, and we hope that this is a learning experience for you, and we hope that if you have any other insights or information that you please feel free to add it, tag us, send us messages, post video replies, the whole 9. So thank you very much. Y'all have a great day. We'll see ya.